I'm Roberta Kagan, and I've decided that during these very troubled times, I'd like to do something a little bit different. I've decided to make videos of excerpts from my new novel in order to connect more deeply with my readers. The novel is called Not in America, and it's the story of a German family who migrates to America in the late 1920s in search of the American dream. Here's the excerpt. I hope you enjoy. Imagine, if you will, that you've boarded a time capsule and it has transported you to a time and place where life was simpler, where the neighborhood children chased fireflies until well after dark and folks never locked their doors. It's the late 1920s, and violent crime is unheard of in this small, fictitious town that lay stretched along the St. Lawrence Seaway in upstate New York. This quaint little village lies huddled under elms and weeping willow trees, far from the sins of the big city. Let us give this little town a name. Let us call her Medina. Medina, with her tree-lined streets, white wood farmhouses, and heavily scented rose bushes, was divided into two distinct and very different sectors. The larger of the two sectors was populated by hard-working folks, most of whom were employed at the local factories. Now, although it wasn't discussed very much, it was true that some of these folks in that very sector belonged to a mean-spirited group known as the KKK. But the KKK kept to themselves, and so no one paid much attention. On the other side of Medina was the smaller section. It was only a few streets away, but once you passed the corner of Main Street, where the synagogue stood, with two stained glass windows and a large wooden door, you knew you'd entered the Jewish sector of town. On Friday nights and on Jewish holidays, one might hear the lovely baritone sound of the cantor coming from inside the temple. The people who made their homes here were primarily Jewish immigrants who were business owners and professionals. Although there was always an awareness on both sides that an invisible line lay between them that must never be crossed, these two very different groups of people had lived side by side for centuries without much trouble. They even frequented each other's sectors and often spoke courteously to each other. Sometimes the non-Jewish housewives bought bread at the Jewish bakery or had their shoes fixed by the Jewish cobbler. The Jewish families sometimes ventured to the other side to visit a movie theater or a museum. And all was well, until it wasn't. One day something happened, something that rocked that little village like an earthquake, something that sent shock waves through the Jewish people who had built their lives in that small, comfortable, protected town, making them realize that even in America, where the streets were surely paved in gold, they must never take their safety for granted. Even here, hatred for God's chosen people lay buried right beneath the oak tree in the village square. And in the time it takes for lightning to flash down from the sky, everything they'd spent their lives building could be consumed by flames. But this couldn't happen. Not in America. Could it? I hope you enjoyed the excerpt. The book is available for pre-order right now. Just click the link below and it will direct you to the page. Thank you so much for being a part of my mailing list. I send all of you many blessings.